Hello everyone, this is Dutch Owen with a short tutorial for those alpha testers of FSCaptain RED. I'm going to run through a quick installation and a quick demonstration of how to fly your first mission. We'll take as little time as we can. Since you're an alpha tester, you've been sent a link to FSCaptain, and presumably you've downloaded the installer, which is called FSCaptain RED Alpha.exe. Simply execute that and you'll start the install program. Click Next on the title screen. Please agree to our license terms. And here we need to select where it's going to be installed. I happen to have FSX acceleration and prepared version 3 installed on my hard drive. I'm going to install this version of FSCaptain RED in Prepare 3D, which I have installed in the folder C:P3D3. So I'll type that over the default FSXA because it thinks it sort of prioritizes FSX and says, okay, if you got FSX, I think I'll install it there. I'll type it over. Do next. It will ask me to confirm that this is the root folder of my flight sim. Please put the root folder and not any subfolders. Click on Start and the installation will proceed. It takes only a few seconds to install all the files. They all go in basically one place, one folder called FSCaptain inside your simulator root. It's not making a whole lot of massive changes to everything, so it can easily be uninstalled, and I'll demonstrate that at the end of this video. Once it's done, it will create on your desktop and in your start menu 3 important programs that you'll be using with FSCaptain RED. That is the FSCaptain Administrator up here at the top, which we'll see run shortly. The FSCaptain FCDU, which is a communications device you'll use to communicate with the system. And the FSCaptain ACARS Installer, which will allow you to put a copy of this FCDU as a gauge inside any aircraft you might choose, which is a little bit more convenient to use sometimes than doing it externally on your desktop. But either one works basically the same. Since you're an alpha tester, I would highly recommend that you view the readme.txt and read through all the information here. It will change from release to release as we add more things and fix more bugs. Once you've looked at the readme, you can exit and you'll get a question. It has now very subtly run the FSCaptain Administrator, and it's going to ask you if you're using Prepare 3D version 3 or greater. I am version 3.4, so I'll click on Yes, and it will come up with a screen that says Welcome to FSCaptain. There's 2 buttons. One is the installer, which basically is the same thing as here on your desktop. We don't need to use that installer. Our demo here will be entirely from the external desktop FCDU. FCDU stands for Flight Communications Data Unit, if you're wondering. We do need to seek employment, so this is the only thing to do. Click on Seek Employment, and you will come up with the simplest employment application you've ever filled out because you can't be rejected. It will ask you to choose your employer. We're providing 3 different organizations to choose from here. They are Acme Airlines, a standard airline in FSCaptain, Air America, the famous CIA-owned airline that operated in Southeast Asia and actually around the world for the CIA until about 1975. And the United States Air Force, we're including them simply as a typical military-only organization. Now, you might think that selecting one of these 3 will determine what kind of missions you're going to be flying, but in fact, it doesn't. Acme is primarily civilian. Air America is sort of a mix of in between, and USAF is military. But in fact, Acme can fly military missions, and USAF can fly non-military. So it doesn't really matter. What matters here is that you're going to be building a career in one of these 3. So I'm going to select USAF here. It then asks for your name. I'm going to type my name. It does want to know. The rest of this stuff it will default. I could put my real birthday here, but I'm going to leave it 1 January 1982. And default the rest of this. It doesn't really matter. You may be saying, well, wait a minute. I don't want to fly for the United States Air Force. I would prefer to fly for, say, the Royal Navy or the Luftwaffe. You can create your own organization to fly for and build a career for. That's not hard to do, and the README tells you how to do it. So simply click on Apply Now, and you will be notified that you've been assigned an employee number. Click OK, and you get a welcome letter, what we call a welcome letter, on the screen, which will describe how to get started with this particular organization with FSCaptain RED. And I'm not going to bother to read this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short break while I bring up Flight Simulator and show you how to get started. We have brought up Flight Simulator, and we have placed ourselves in an Islander, a BN2, at KOLM, Olympia, Washington. The reason we've done that is because an Islander is a nice small to medium-sized aircraft which will fit the size requirements of most of the missions available here at KOLM. In FSCaptain assignment system, whether FSCaptain RED or standard FSCaptain, missions are tied to airports. The only exception is aircraft carriers, which missions may also be tied to an aircraft carrier operating in a particular geographical area. What we do is we bring up our flight simulator and position ourselves in an appropriate sized aircraft at the airport we're interested in. And then we bring up the FCDU, the Flight Communications Data Unit, and see what missions are available, and then we select from one and we run it. So what do I mean there? Well, the FCDU program is one of those programs that was placed on your desktop by the installer. That's called the external FCDU, and it will run outside of Flight Simulator as an application, tie into it, and connect to your airplane, allow you to do everything from outside Flight Simulator. There's another version of that called the Gauge version, which can be installed inside an airplane. That's what I've done here, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in this demonstration. The two versions work identically. We recommend that when you first start out, you use the external. That saves you the trouble of having to install it in an aircraft. And then once you get used to that, you may choose to install or not choose to install it in any of the aircraft. It's slightly more convenient when it's in there. It can be called up by a shift combination. I have mine always on shift 7 for all my aircraft, so I hit shift 7 here and I get a copy of the FCDU internal gauge version installed in the Islander. So I will turn it on by pressing the white knob. I will get a screen that allows me to log in and see what missions are available. Before I log in, I want to mention the importance of your current airport. In FSCaptain, the airport that you are at is the airport you are closest to. 99% of the time, you're only close to one airport, but there are some cases in the world where two or more airports are close enough together to where it can't be sure that you really want to be at the airport you're geographically located close to. So in those cases, excuse me, in those cases, FSCaptain will allow you to select which airport you want to. For instance, here at KOLM, there are some other airports nearby that might be the one I want to be at. So it allows me to select an airport. There are quite a number of them, Olympia, and then a bunch of smaller little airports out there. The one we want is Olympia, so we just select that. And then once we're sure, it verifies we're at the airport we want to be. That is the one that has the missions we're looking for. We log in. Once we log in, we simply get a verification of the type of aircraft we're in, BN2B20, and we're at KOLM, and we get a list of missions. There's one called Special Delivery to Renton, Medical Pickup, Kim Shan Ranch, Banner, Eat at Joe's, Fire Retardant Drop, Special Delivery, Part 1. I can press the next key, and I get several other options here. I get a medevac at Elma, a midnight drop, and a combat airdrop at Copalis State. All right, if I do previous, I get back to here. Whichever mission I may be interested in, I simply click on the line select key next to that. So medical pickup, Kim Shan Ranch. Let's see what that's all about. It says this is mission 10105, and it says pick up a patient at Kim Shan Ranch, that is code WN00, and deliver to SeaTac, KSEA. Important, Kim Shan is a 1,300-foot dirt airstrip. Use stall or helicopter. At this point, I can either accept the mission, in which case I'm committing myself to attempt to do this, or I can decline it. If I'm not interested, I can click on the decline, and it comes back with a list of missions with that one gone. There are others on here I can check out. Fire Retardant Drop, Special Delivery. That's an interesting one, but I'm not going to get into that. The point being that you are offered missions based on the size and type of your aircraft at a particular airport. Now, if I were to locate myself, say, at KDCA in Washington, at this moment there would be no missions at KDCA because none are written for it. So there's only certain select airports in this alpha version that have content yet. We're working on filling it all in. It's quite a bit of work to do that. All right. Are these all the missions that are available? This set here, we can see by clicking on the bottom left line select key, and we can see that there are some other missions here which are not being offered to us. There's a practice strike, Copalis 1, which needs a combat capable aircraft. We have a couple more practice strikes that require prerequisite missions to be completed. And a transfer base to KHQM leads a combat capable aircraft to also do that. So these are the missions that are not available to us and the reasons for them. Notice that 2 of these require combat capable. I'm going to demonstrate that in just a second, what that's all about. So click on the same little line select key. We go back to the original here. All right. Here's how it works. If I, let's say I want to do the special delivery to Renton. So I select that and it says transport a liver to a transplant patient in Renton, KRNT, 1 hour for delivery, return to KOLM. If I accept it, it will then go into a sequence where it will allow me, it'll say load as expeditiously as possible. You have 60 minutes to deliver to Renton Airport. So it wants me to open the door. If I do that by hitting Shift E, the Islander will open the door. It will say authorize load, and I say load. And then it switches automatically to the outbound phase. At this point, I will close the door. You have to imagine me here starting the engines, taking off, flying to KRNT, landing, meeting an ambulance for pickup near runway 33. I would meet the ambulance, transfer the liver, then taxi back out, and fly back here to KOLM and complete the mission. So that's basically how that works. In this particular case, it's what's called a simple delivery mission. I'm just delivering something somewhere and bringing it back. It's giving me the KRNT NDB for navigational purposes and a mission count here. I'm going to abort the mission. I want to show you what the difference is in different aircraft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change aircraft here and switch to a combat capable aircraft. I'm going to switch probably to an A-10 here at KOLM and see what that does to our mission availability. Selecting the A-10, bringing it back up, and you should see that reappear here shortly. This is the Iris A-10, which has TAC packed, so it is a combat capable aircraft. It is designated as a combat capable aircraft in FSCaptain, so I can bring up our FCDU, which is also installed as a gauge in the A-10. And assuming I can get hold of this thing, I will make it large enough for you to be able to see it better. Power it up, log in. And this time we see a different set of missions because we are in a combat capable aircraft. It takes everything away except the Eat It Joe's banner. The reason it leaves that on there is because that's a recon type mission, which is a valid military mission, even though pulling a banner is pretty silly for an A-10. But we see something new. We see Practice Strike at Copalis Part 1. That was a mission that we saw was rejected for our Islander because it's not capable. Also, the transfer base to KHQM, which was also only reserved for a combat capable aircraft. So here, once we switch to something that can shoot, a combat capable aircraft that's designated to FSCaptain as combat capable, we get a different set of missions. Now, here at KOLM, there's a mixture. There's a mixture of all kinds of ordinary civilian missions like banner towing and fire retardant drops and delivering organs and doing all kinds of things. You may be interested only in the military aspects of FSCaptain RED. I know a lot of people are. So I'm going to demonstrate how that works by relocating our A-10 to a completely different airport. So let's do a reset. Power it off, and I'm going to relocate to an airport that is used in FSX at War in the Libya, the default Libya campaign for FSX at War. I should mention while I'm doing the switching of the airport, which is kind of one of those FSX is taking forever to load things, that FSX at War and VRS TACPAC and Captain Sim Weapon are all add-ons from other companies that we at FSCaptain with FSCaptain Red detect and cooperate with. So we are aware of what VRS TACPAC is doing. We are aware of what FSX at War has provided in terms of targets. And we monitor all that, and we provide a mission environment for instance, FSX at War. I've come up here in the nighttime, of course, because it's nighttime in the Mediterranean. I'll use the magic of Flight Simulator to switch to daytime. While I talk a little bit more about the capabilities of FSCaptain and what it adds to a combat environment. Not only do we give you these scripted missions, which add more objects and more capability than FSX at War does, but we work seamlessly with that. The most important thing is that we provide combat opposition to you that you may not have been aware of in the past. In other words, if you are here, we're at a island airport, and we can pick up missions, which I'm going to be showing you here very shortly, to fly combat strikes against Libya. Here we are. We are at LICD, which is the one of the NATO airports defined in the FSX at War Libya NATO versus Libya campaign. A location LICD. If we log in here, we will see we have a completely different set of missions, and these are all combat missions that we can fly for our A-10. There's enemy air defense suppression against an SA-2 site, early warning radar, destroying headquarters, helo bases, army bases, chemical plants, power stations, factories, terrorist camps. There's all kinds of targets defined here for these missions. And so I can simply select one, and then if I accept it, it will put me on that mission. It'll ask me to verify the loadout and let me select a loadout for the A-10 here to decide what weapons I want to go up against this SAM site at those coordinates. And then I can proceed, and it will switch me to the outbound phase, and I can fire up, take off, fly to the SAM site, hopefully destroy it without getting shot down, and then return. Now, since this is a SAM site, you're aware that it can shoot back. What you may not be aware of, but you will soon be, is that FSCaptain Red and FSCaptain Standard, when used in the mission system, has the capability to endow FSX at War objects with anti-aircraft artillery capabilities. So, magically, and without you doing any configuration whatsoever, the various FSX at War vehicles which may contain weapons, now those weapons will be operational. They will shoot at you. Not just the SAM sites, but tanks may have 50 caliber machine guns that will fire at you. The various AAA weapons, the flak guns, the ZSUs, the ZPUs, the various things that are there, they will now have active weapons that can fire at you as you fly by. They will target the user aircraft, and they can shoot you down, damage you. And this will do a considerable amount to change the way you do things. So no longer in this FSX at War Libya campaign are all the sites except the SA-2 sites sitting ducks. Most of them, particularly say army camps or terrorist camps, are now defended by very realistic AAA flak tracers, bullets in various layers. It goes very complex and very deep. So that's the combat capability, and this is how to access it. Locate yourself on a airport that contains missions and fly the missions, and you're interacting with the FSX at War environment, and at the same time you're flying the FSCaptain Red mission, which is recording it for your career and providing a lot of the ground opposition for you. So that's how it works. We'll abort this mission because we don't really want to do it. And that pretty much brings our demonstration to a conclusion. From this point on, it's my job as a military pilot for the USAF to strike these various things, fulfill these missions. It doesn't do any flight planning for me. It's entirely up to me how I plan the flight, how I fly the flight, what ordnance I take, how I use the ordnance. The only thing it cares about is getting there, destroying the target, and getting back here in one piece and landing and completing the mission. So that brings to a close our brief introduction to FSCaptain RED. I hope you enjoy exploring and playing with it. There are much more to it than simply this and KOLM. The Air America simulation, if you provide the freeware Vietnam War scenery and some other add-ons to it, you get a full simulation of Air America, both combat and non-combat missions in Southeast Asia. Going against the Ho Chi Minh Trail, or supporting the Hmong army as they resist the Pathet Lao on the Plain of Jars. So yeah, it's quite a bit, and this is only the beginning. There's going to be a lot more added to FSCaptain RED to make it a fully functional and exciting mission simulator, which also contains large elements of combat mission. So enjoy FSCaptain RED. Hope you do, and thank you so much for participating in the Alpha Tester program. And we'll be talking to you in the next video. Thank you so much.